Sometimes you hear about these places that feel like a bit of a well-kept secret. Estonia often comes up like that for me, this blend of really old history and super modern thinking,
Yeah.
all tucked away in Northern Europe.
Absolutely. That mix, the ancient and the cutting edge, that's really Estonia in a nutshell. So for this deep dive, we've looked at a YouTube travel piece and also a detailed guide.
Right.
The idea is to pull out the really interesting stuff for you, whether you're actually planning a trip or just, curious about different places, trying to hit that sweet spot, informative but not overwhelming.
Yeah, because Estonia seems to have so much variety packed in. I mean, the sources cover everything from medieval towns and beaches to huge national parks and buzzing city life.
Yeah, it really does.
So let's get into it. What makes this place tick?
Okay, let's start with Tallinn. It's the capital, right on the Gulf of Finland. Both sources really stress its history as this major hub for trade, for culture. That coastal connection is key.
And you definitely get that historical vibe walking around the old town. The YouTube source mentioned the town hall dates way back to 1322.
1322. And the square around it, Ricocha Platz. It's been the heart of the city for centuries. Apparently, the Christmas market there is something else really traditional.
Makes you imagine all the things that have happened right there. What's fascinating is how that old court, it's a UNESCO site, isn't it?
It is, yeah. One of Europe's best preserved, they say.
Right, how that sits right alongside these really modern creative areas. It's not just a museum piece.
Exactly. It's living history next to this contemporary buzz. Take Kalamaja district.
Okay.
Its story is pretty cool. Started as a fishing harbor way back, 14th century, then industry in the 19th century, and now it's known for these charming old wooden houses.
That kind of evolution is always interesting. Did the sources say much about how that change happened, from industrial to picturesque?
A little bit. They mention revitalization efforts, basically. Attracting artists, entrepreneurs, young people, breathing new life into those old buildings,
I see.
And then you've got Balti-Jama Turg. The video showed it as this massive market space.
Oh, yeah.
Nearly 300 traders, 3 floors, everything from street food and fresh groceries to antiques, vintage clothes, handicrafts. A real mix.
Sounds like a proper local hub, not just for tourists.
Definitely. And then there's Teleskivi Creative City.
Right, I remember that name.
Yeah, described as really vibrant. Restaurants, bars, cafes everywhere, street food trucks, lots of street art, cultural events happening. It's like the modern, energetic counterpoint right there.
That contrast sounds amazing. The guide mentioned getting panoramic views from the city walls too, seeing the old and new laid out.
And trying local food, like elk stew or kama.
Elk stew, okay. But kama, what exactly is that?
Right, so kama is this traditional Estonian thing. It's a finely milled flour, basically a mix of roasted grains, barley, rye, oat, sometimes peas or beans are added too.
Oh, and how do you eat it?
Often just mixed with yogurt or buttermilk. It's quite unique, a real taste of Estonia.
Interesting. Okay, so moving out from Tallinn, the sources also talked about the coast and rural life, like the Vimsi Open Air Museum.
Yes, Vimsi. It gives you a real glimpse into coastal farm life from the 19th and 20th centuries. So think daily farm work, fishing, market days, how they celebrated holidays.
So it's more interactive than just looking at old stuff.
Totally. They have educational programs, traditional events, even farm animals running around. It makes it feel much more alive.
Right.
And the video pointed out the view from there, looking back across the water to the Tallinn skyline. That contrast, again, the rural foreground and the city in the distance. Pretty spectacular.
Cool. Then there's Tartu, second biggest city. Also has an old town, but sounds like it has a different character.
Very different, yeah. Both sources call it the intellectual and cultural heart of Estonia.
Why that? The university.
That's a huge part of it. The University of Tartu is prestigious, and its main building from the early 1800s is this architectural landmark. Classical style. But it's not just the university. The video also mentioned Nura, that's the National Archives, the Estonian National Museum, and the Tartu Old Observatory, all contributing to this intellectual identity.
So a city steeped in learning and culture, not just history in the medieval sense. The travel guide mentioned its atmosphere too, lively cafes, quirky street art, a youthful feel.
Definitely. It feels younger, maybe because of the student population. A nice contrast to Tallinn's more, perhaps grand, historical feel.
Gotcha. Now, Estonia seems big on nature too. Forests cover over half the country.
Yeah, over 50%. It's remarkable.
And Lahima National Park came up near Tallinn. Sounds like you can hike through bogs, pine woods, along the coast.
Right, it's really accessible and great for hiking. The guide also mentioned it's good for bird watching, cycling, lots of outdoor stuff.
And this bog walking thing, taking a dip in bog pools, sounds unusual. What exactly is a bog?
Okay, so a bog is a type of wetland. It's got acidic soil, lots of peat moss.
Right.
The peat is basically partially decayed plants, and it releases tannins, which stain the water this dark tea-like color.
Ah, hence the peat stain pools.
Exactly. And dipping in is a bit of a local tradition. Some say it's good for the skin.
Huh. Adds a twist to a nature hike. Okay, what about the islands? They sound like a big part of the Estonian experience. Kinu, for starters.
Kinu, yes. The YouTube video really focused on its culture, singing, music. It's actually on the UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage List.
Wow. What makes it so special?
It seems really deeply embedded in the community life, especially the women. They play a huge role in keeping these traditions like polyphonic singing alive. It's not just for show, it's part of everyday life celebrations.
That sounds amazing.
And the video showed their traditional clothes, the buildings, lots of bright, cheerful colors. Seems like a really unique place. You can even do home visits, truck tours, fishing trips apparently, visit the museum too.
Sounds very immersive.
Okay, next island, Hiiumaa.
Hiiumaa. More about untouched nature, it seems, and lighthouses, especially the Kopu lighthouse. It's ancient, like 500 years old.
Up 500 years. Still working. Yep, one of the world's oldest continuously operating ones. Pretty incredible. So Hiiumaa sounds great if you want peace and quiet, but also good for surfing, sailing, hiking if you're active.
And food. I saw a mention of food tourism.
Ah, yeah, the Kilavoin light.
That's the one. Smoked herring sandwich.
Sounds like it. A local specialty. And of course, Vanatalan liqueur gets a mention. You find that everywhere in Estonia.
Right, the classic liqueur. And the biggest island? Saaremaa.
Saaremaa, known for, well, lots of things. Rich plant life, these meteor craters at Kali.
Meteor
They're
craters.
a pretty unusual feature, and it has a Viking history, too. The main town, Kuressaare, has this really well-preserved castle.
Kuressaare Castle, right?
And apparently Kuressaare is the place for spas, like a huge number of them per person. Very relaxing vibe.
Sounds like a good spot to unwind.
Mm.
Oh, and the Sayre Lighthouse there, tallest in the Baltics.
That's the one. Must have some amazing views.
Definitely. So beyond the main spots and islands, the sources touched on other towns too. Viljandi.
Viljandi, yeah. Down in southern Estonia, surrounded by forests, it's got impressive castle ruins, seems to have a friendly community feel, a nice lake, known for its medieval fairs and folk music festivals in the summer.
Sounds charming. And close to Suma National Park too.
Right. Then there's Rockvere, bit different again. Mixes 13th century ruins with like a dynamic nightlife, known for punk and rock music events.
Really? An edgier vibe.
Seems like it, but still close to the coast and Lahima Park, so a good base maybe.
Interesting mix. What about Pärnu? I think I know that one, beaches and spas.
That's its reputation, definitely. Estonia's summer capital, big sandy beach, lots of spas. Also has historical bits like the Red Tower from the 15th century and some lovely Art Nouveau architecture. The Amen Villa was mentioned used to be a fancy house, then a clinic, library, now a luxury hotel. Quite a history.
Wow. And finally, Haapsalu.
A smaller seaside town, known for its lovely wooden buildings, narrow streets, and especially its mud spas.
Mud spas.
Yeah.
That sounds earthy.
Huh. Yeah, it's a tradition going back to the early 1800s, big for medical tourism back then. It sounds very picturesque, seaside promenades, timber houses, Haapsalu Castle. Oh, and they're famous for intricate hand-woven shawls.
It's amazing how these smaller places have such distinct identities.
It really is. And looking at the bigger picture, Estonia's whole identity is this interesting weave of Nordic, Baltic, Eastern European influences.
And that regaining independence in 91 seems like such a pivotal moment,
Yeah.
leading to this whole tech-savvy nation thing we hear about.
Absolutely, a real catalyst. But what's also cool is how those unique regional cultures, like in Satoma or on Kinu Island, still thrive alongside the modern stuff.
Yeah, that balance is key. And the sauna. We can't forget the sauna.
Definitely not. It sounds like it's more than just bathing. It's a huge social, cultural thing in Estonia.
Right. Okay, quickly then. Practical stuff for anyone thinking of going.
Sure, currency is the euro. English is widely spoken, which helps. Best time for good weather and festivals is roughly May to September, though December has those Christmas markets, like in Tallinn.
Good point. And getting around.
Buses are meant to be reliable and pretty cheap between towns. And within Tallinn, public transport is actually free for residents, which is amazing. Generally, the cities seem very walkable.
Okay, good to know. So wrapping it up, Estonia really does sound like this compelling package. It's compact, but you get medieval charm, digital innovation, incredible nature.
All kind of packed together. It offers a perhaps more authentic experience, maybe away from the huge crowds you get elsewhere in Europe sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. So we've touched on Tallinn's old meets new vibe, Tartu's intellectual buzz, the beauty of the islands and parks, those unique cultural traditions, and the practical side too.
It's been a good overview, I think, from medieval walls to bog walks and digital societies.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? How they managed to balance preserving that deep history with being so forward-looking. What aspect of Estonia really grabs you the most after this? The history, the nature, that tech side.
That's a tough one.
Definitely something to mull over. How that unique mix shapes a place and maybe how we think about travel and identity today.